What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of K-Cards Baseball. Thanks for joining me tonight on this wonderful Wednesday evening, wherever you might be. I happen to be in Watertown, South Dakota. It is storming outside fairly bad. Hopefully the weather is a little bit nicer where you guys are at. Anyways, let's move on to tonight's topic. It is, in fact, Wednesday evening, and as you guys know, that means it is Vintage Wednesday. Tonight, we're going to do kind of a hodgepodge of different cards. Most of these cards are going to be Hall of Famers or Hall of Very Good players. Guys that I think should be in the Hall of Fame, but haven't quite made it as of yet. So let's get into them. We're going to start out with 1968, and I have this card up because it does have one Hall of Famer on it. That is Mr. Ferguson Jenkins. This card I've got in very good to excellent condition. There aren't any creases on the card. The centering is actually fairly decent, probably 85-15 left to right, and 80-20 top to bottom, which is fairly normal for 1968 cards. The back is in pretty good shape. Again, it is a little bit off-center, top to bottom. As you guys know, with the 1968 cards, similar to other colored bordered cards, they are kind of a challenge to grade because of the, I don't know what I would call this. I always want to call it kind of a weaving basket kind of a look. Anyways, I have this card up for $3, and hopefully it will go for that. As with any cards, if you guys are interested in any cards that you see tonight, possibly purchasing any of these cards, please let me know in the comments down below. I will reach out to you in one way or another, and we can try and work out some sort of a price. I have sold a few cards like that in the past, so it is always a good way to do that. I'm going to make a slight adjustment to my camera. It's facing a little bit low. That hopefully is a little bit better. This is a 1972 Gaylord Perry card. It is off-center, left to right, and also top to bottom, as was a typical problem in the 1972 set. It is, I would say, 95-5 left to right and also top to bottom. Other than that, the card is in decent shape. It does have a little bit of a smashed up bottom right-hand corner and a slight ding in the top left. This card I do have going for $2. Pretty decent card. It is in good shape on the back other than the miscut issue. Not a bad card for $2 on the 72 Gaylord Perry card. Ted Simmons, this would be his second year card. 71 was Ted Simmons' rookie card. This card is actually fairly decent left to right. Pretty well centered. I would say almost 50-50. Top to bottom is more 75-25. The back is in good condition other than the centering issue top to bottom. There aren't any creases on it. The corners are in good shape. So I have this card going for $1.50. Denny McLain, 1972 card. Alrighty then. Here we go. Sorry about that. Another one that is pretty well centered left to right. Again, I would call it 50-50. It is off top to bottom. 95-5 top to bottom. There aren't any creases on the card. There is a slight flaw on the surface right there. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. I can kind of get it in the light. The lighting is actually pretty good in this hotel room that I'm at, so no complaints there. Usually it is pretty dark and kind of dreary with the lighting, but this one is a fairly new hotel, so it isn't too bad. The centering on this one, again on the back, top to bottom, is a little bit off. No, not a little bit, quite a bit off. I would call it 97-3, let's say. Anyways, I have this card going for $1.50. Next up, we've got one Hall of Famer and one Hall of Very Good. Jim Palmer Hall of Famer and Hall of Very Good Vita Blue. Again, the centering is pretty good left to right. 50-50. Top to bottom is actually pretty good too. Really well centered card for 1972. There aren't any creases on the card. There is slight shaving on the bottom edge, and that is pretty much about it. There is a ding in the bottom right. Other than that, the card is in pretty decent shape. The back is actually centered fairly well too. I have this card going for $3. Next up is the 1972 Don Baylor rookie card. Not a Hall of Famer, but I would consider him a Hall of Very Good. Had a pretty long career, was a pretty prolific hitter, and later on his career was a really good DH. Was on my Twins 1987 team, I believe. 87 World Series winning team. The centering on this card, 80-20 left to right. Top to bottom is 95-5. The back of the card is in really good shape, other than the top to bottom issue. I forgot about Johnny Oates here, a catcher for the Orioles his rookie year. Went on to be a really well-known manager. This card I do have going up for $2 on the Don Baylor card. Next up, we got a few Hall of Famers on this card. I think we got 3. 1971 NL pitching leaders. We got 3 Hall of Famers on this card. Fergie Jenkins, Steve Carlton, and Tom Seaver. The centering on this card is going to be off left to right, 95-5. Top to bottom is 99-1. That is about the best I can do. You can see it just a little bit on the bottom edge. It is almost miscut to the next card. Al Downing was also a pretty good player too. Primarily with the Angels, I believe. Anyways, I do have this card going for $2. Norm Cash, not a Hall of Famer, but a Hall of Very Good player. The centering on this card, left to right. Next up, we got Norm Cash. We got a couple of Norm Cash cards. This one is a better shape than this one. You can see the centering difference between the two. The one in my left hand is pretty well centered left to right and also top to bottom. The back is in really nice shape too, other than the centering issue top to bottom. It is a little bit off there on the top of the card. This card I will have up for, let's call it $2. And this card is going to be at $1 just because of the centering issue. That is Norm Cash. Next up is Hall of Famer Tony Oliva, one of my very favorite players when I was a young person. Well, still alive. I actually met him a few times, not just having him autograph some stuff for me, but in everyday life. Anyways, side to side, left to right, it is, let's call it 65-35, not too bad actually. Top to bottom is pretty good too, pretty well centered card. Top to or left to right on the back is off, let's say 95 or 97.3. I have this card going up for $2 on the Tony Oliva card. Next up, we got Billy Martin when he was managing the Tigers in 1972 before he went to the Yankees. This card centering 80-20 left to right and let's say 70-30 top to bottom. The back is in really nice shape. So I have this card going for $3. There aren't any creases on the card. There is a slight ding in the upper left-hand corner. Well, all 4 corners have a slight ding on them. So I might have to reduce that down to $2. You can see the condition of the corners there. $2 on that card. Frank Robinson is up next. I thought I had a couple Frank Robinsons, but this must be the only one. These are the 73s, and I think the rest of these are going to be 73s. Pretty tough on this card. I've seen a lot of Frank Robinson cards, and this is a pretty common problem with the 1973 cards. You can see it's just all miscut terribly. Not only left to right, top to bottom, it is cut at an angle. I don't know if you can show that on the screen. So it is in really rough shape, unfortunately, just because of centering. The rest of the card isn't too bad. The corners are in pretty good shape, and the centering is actually pretty good. But because it is so badly miscut, it could take a $15 card and turn it into a $2 card really quick. So that is what I'm asking for the 73 Frank Robinson card. Next up, another guy that I think should be in the Hall of Fame. This one is kind of goofy because you can't even see Steve Gravey on his own Steve Gravey card. He is behind. I don't think that is Dave Parker. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know who Parker is for the Dodgers in 1973, but that is who is blocking him as he's walking across the plate, no doubtedly after a home run was hit. Centering is 100-0 top to bottom. There is no top edge. Left to right actually isn't too bad. You have the same problem on the back of the card, even though there isn't any flaws. The front of the card is in pretty decent shape. There is a slight wax stain over here on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side as well. I will have to take that out with a dryer sheet, but I'm asking $2 for the Steve Gravey card. Next up, we got Fergie Jenkins, 1973. Centering on this card is pretty decent, 70-30 left to right. Top to bottom is 90-10. There aren't any wrinkles on the card. The corners are in really nice shape, and the back of the card is in really good shape as well. So I'm asking $3 on the Fergie Jenkins card. Bert Blyleven is up next. This will be his third-year card. He was a rookie in 1971. Centering on this card left to right, pretty good. I would call it 50-50. Top to bottom is also the same. Really nicely centered card. It is not centered very well on the back. I don't know how you can get the front so good on the centering, but have the back look so bad. Look at that. It is left to right, it is, 97, 98, 2? I don't know why that is. Kind of an anomaly, I would call it. The front of the card is in good shape. There is a slight wrinkle on the bottom left-hand corner. The upper left is got a slight wrinkle as well. The other two corners are in pretty decent shape other than the bottom right. So the corners aren't that great, but I am asking $2 on the Bert Blyleven card. 73, Tony Oliva. This card kind of befuddles me a little bit because it almost has a paperclip mark right there on the left edge. It does have a ding in the upper left-hand corner as well. The rest of the corners are actually in pretty decent shape. Centering on this card, 80-20 left to right. Top to bottom is pretty good. Call it 55-45. And again, the back of the card left to right is a little bit poor on the left-hand side. I would call that 97-3. But I'm asking $2 on the Tony Oliva card. Tell me if I'm crazy asking that price. Reggie Jackson is up next. Unfortunately, it is a miscut card as well. Top, I would call that 99-1. Centering left to right is actually pretty dead on. It is just the top to bottom that is pretty poor. The same as on the back. The top of the card is basically missing on the back of the card. But it is a Reggie Jackson, and I am asking, I had it at 8. I think I'm going to reduce it down to 6. The corners are in pretty good shape, and there aren't any wrinkles on the front of the card at all. I do have 4 Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton cards, so 2 Hall of Famers on this card. We do have 4 of them on the 1972 strikeout leaders. We'll go through these kind of quick. This one is in really good shape. Front or left to right, 80-20, top to bottom, 90-10. The back of the card you can see is miscut on the left to right. But I am asking $3 on that card. This one is going to be kind of the same as that one. Again, it is a $3 card. This one is centered pretty well. These last 2 are actually centered pretty well, much better than the first 2. 50-50 left to right and 50-50 top to bottom on this card. This one is more 70-30 top to bottom, even though the left to right is in good shape. There aren't any creases on either one of the cards, and the corners are in really nice shape. So I am asking $5 each on each one of these two cards. Pretty nice Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton cards there. Carl Yastrzemski, 1973. Top to bottom, 96-4, just to be a little bit different. Left to right is at 90-10. The back of the card is in really nice shape other than the centering issue top to bottom. I am asking, what do you guys think? $2 or $3 on that card? Next up we got Joe Morgan. It does have a printing flaw right there in the upper part of the card. Top to bottom is actually quite a bit off. 96-4 again. Left to right, I'd call that 90-10. The back of the card is in good shape other than the centering issue on the top. There aren't any wrinkles on the card, and the corners are in pretty decent shape. $2 for the Joe Morgan. Thurman Munson, third year card. Bad cut all the way around on the top to bottom and left to right. 100-0 on both of those. You can actually see the top of the next card on the bottom of the Thurman Munson card right there. The back is in good shape other than the miscut issue, but it is a nice Thurman Munson card as far as the surface condition and the corners. So I'm asking $3 on the Thurman Munson card. Bobby Bonds, we got a couple of his cards. You can see the issue on both of them. This one right here, again, is going to be miscut left to right as both of these cards are. I'd call these in the same shape. Basically, this one is cut a little bit better than what this one is. I am selling both of these cards at $2 a piece. The back of the cards are in really nice shape. That is the Bobby Bonds card. This one does have a wax issue on the front of the card, but I will be able to get that with the dryer sheet. Rico Petrocelli. The left to right, I'd call that 70-30. Top to bottom is 90-10. No wrinkles on the card, and the corners are in pretty decent shape. The back of the card is in good shape. Just looking at the corners a little bit closer. Yeah, they're actually in pretty good shape. Slight ding in the upper left. $2 on the Rico Petrocelli card. Jim Catfish Hunter, when he was with the Oakland A's and was a World Series winner with the Oakland A's that year. The top of the card is basically missing, and left to right, I'd call that 90-10. The bottom of the card is jacked up. It is showing part of the next card. That's how badly miscut that this card is. $1 for the Jim Hunter card. Billy Williams, we got a couple of his cards. Both are going to be in the same condition. Both have flaws in the upper left-hand corners. You can see the miscut on both of these cards is basically the same. Centering left to right is actually pretty good. The back of both of these cards is in pretty good condition other than the miscut issue on both of them. So these cards are going to be going for $1.50 each. Lou Pinella, not a Hall of Famer, probably should be for his managerial success with the Yankees. This card, I would call it 95-5, top to bottom, left to right, 90-10. The back of the card is in good shape. There aren't any wrinkles on the front of the card at all. The corners are in pretty decent shape as well. So we will call this a $2 card. The same as this Lou Pinella. This one is cut a little bit better, top to bottom. I call it 90-10. Left to right is actually pretty good at about 50-50. Not too bad at all. It is slightly miscut left to right on the back of the card. The front of the card does not have any surface flaws or any wrinkles at all. The corners are in pretty decent shape. I will call this a $3 card on the Lou Pinella. Ron Santo, I think we got like 4 Ron Santo cards to go through. This one is actually cut fairly well, top to bottom and left to right. There aren't any surface-related issues as far as wrinkles go. The corners are in really nice shape. It is slightly miscut top to bottom and left to right on the back, but it is a pretty nice 73 Ron Santo card, and we'll call that a $3 card. This Ron Santo isn't cut as well. It is probably 90-10 top to bottom, and let's call it 80-20 left to right. It is slightly miscut on the back, but the surface is really nice. There aren't any flaws on the surface as far as creases go, and the corners are in decent shape as well. So I will call this a $2 card. This card is also going to be a $2 card, pretty much the same as the last. You can see them, they are basically the same card. And we will sell, this color is a little bit different than this color. You can see the difference in color on the front of the card. This one I would think is better than what this one is. Anyways, I will call this a $2 card as well. This one is going to be the same, basically $2 card, same condition, no flaws on the front. The coloring is going to, I've been saying basically a lot lately. The color is the same for both of these cards. Maybe this one is a little bit lighter, but they are all basically all going to be $2 cards. Dusty Baker, got a couple of Dusty Baker cards. Probably will be a Hall of Famer for his managerial exploits, even though he was an excellent baseball player as well. More commonly known as a Los Angeles Dodger than he was an Atlanta Brave in this uniform, which I think is where he was drafted, was with the Braves, no doubt, because this is his second year card. The centering on this card, 95-5 left to right, pretty decent top to bottom. The surface of the card is in really nice shape, and the corners are in really decent shape as well. A slight ding in the upper left. The back of the card is in good shape. This card will be a $1.50. This Dusty Baker isn't quite as nice as the other one. You can see the difference in color on this one and compared to this one. This color is a little bit off compared to the other one. I will call this a $1 card, even though the surface is in good shape and the back of the card is in good shape. The centering is off 90-10 left to right and also top to bottom. But a $1 card, slightly less expensive than the other one. A few other cards to get through. First up, we got Don Sutton, and this card has always kind of been hard for me to figure out because of the color of the clouds in the background. They're actually kind of red, as you can see. This one also has slightly red cards, but I have seen cards that are, well, this one is actually pretty white, but the centering, the miscut on this one is pretty bad, even though the color is a little bit better on this card than it is on this card. This card we'll talk about first, 95-5 top to bottom, left to right is 90-10. The back of the card is in decent shape, but I will call this card a $2 card. Maybe $3 actually. This one's going to be a $2 card just because of the miscut top to bottom. There is a San Francisco Giant pitcher as the next card. Wonder if it's Juan Marichal. Maybe it's Juan Marichal. Hard to tell where this one. Oh, Los Angeles Dodgers? Yeah, pitcher on the... Yeah, that's of course. Duh, of course it's a Los Angeles Dodger because it's Don Sutton. It just miscut on the bottom. Oh boy, it's late. It's almost midnight. 90-10 left to right. Top to bottom is way off. Let's just say the way off machine. Top to bottom on the back is quite a bit off too, but I will call this a $2 card on that Don Sutton. The other one is $3. Rollie Fingers, before he had the handlebar mustache, which I think he still has to this day. Left to right, I would call it 50-50. Top to bottom is pretty decent as well. Or top to bottom, I'm sorry, is off 95-5. There aren't any major flaws on the front of the card as far as surface goes, and the corners are in really decent shape. The back of the card is in good shape other than the miscut left to right. This card I am going to put up for $2. And the last card we're going to talk about tonight is this Yogi Berra 73 card when he was managing the Mets. Hall of Famer Yogi Berra. Cut it, the miscut on the card, 95.5 left to right. Top to bottom is actually pretty decent. The back of the card is actually cut fairly well compared to the front of the card. Don't know why the difference there. But we will call this a $3 Yogi Berra card. The surface is in really nice shape, and the corners are in really good shape. So that is the Yogi Berra card, and that is what I got for you guys tonight, unless someone wants to buy this oversized Frank Howard card. Frank Howard was a really good player back in the day. Big-time home run hitter at 48 home runs in 1969. I don't know how much he ended up with, but 119 RBI. Wow. That's pretty good. He was a really good player, and I don't know. He didn't last long enough to make it to the Hall of Fame, but he definitely couldn't make a case for it. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys tonight. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. It does help out the channel quite a bit. Be safe out there. Oh, one quick note. I forgot to tell you guys this. Friday night, I'd normally make my hobby news videos. I don't know how it's going to work this Friday night because I do have a Metallica concert on both Friday night and Sunday night. It is a 2-night concert. So I am going both nights this weekend. So I don't know how that's going to affect the content on the channel. I will probably make a video, try to make a video on Saturday, even though Saturday is my fantasy football draft day. So we will see how this weekend works, but I wanted to get that out there. I am going to be making the 700 subscriber contest or giveaway video probably on Friday. So that's maybe what we get on Friday in lieu of the hobby news video. So just to give you a little bit of a heads up on that. That is all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks for checking out this video. If you want or are interested in any of these cards that we covered tonight, please let me know and we can work something out. Thanks, guys. Be safe out there and happy collecting.